Welcome to APush for 5, your shortcut to mastering the AP U.S. history exam. Let's jump into Period 4, 1800 to 1848, where America transformed through democracy, reform, and growth. Question 1. Stimulus. Excerpt from The Liberator, 1831, by William Lloyd Garrison. I will not equivocate, I will not excuse, I will not retreat a single inch, and I will be heard. Question. Garrison's declaration most directly reflects which transformation within antebellum reform culture? A. The shift among anti-slavery advocates from moral suasion to organized political participation through the Liberty Party. B. The emergence of immediatist abolitionism, rejecting colonization and gradual emancipation in favor of uncompromising moral reform. C. The application of evangelical revivalism to social reform campaigns, emphasizing personal salvation over political activism. D. The fragmentation of the anti-slavery movement as moderate reformers sought reconciliation with pro-slavery theology. The correct answer is B. The emergence of immediatist abolitionism, rejecting colonization and gradual emancipation in favor of uncompromising moral reform. Garrison's words embodied immediatism, an uncompromising moral stance, rejecting colonization and gradualism as moral evasion. He appealed to absolute conscience over party or church authority. Question 2. Stimulus. Journal entry of a German immigrant farmer, 1847. We found in Ohio the freedom and land denied to us in the old country. Question. The experience described above illustrates A. Immigrant pursuit of political and economic opportunity in the American interior. B. Efforts by nativist groups to restrict land ownership among foreign-born settlers. C. The establishment of religious utopian communities seeking refuge from European persecution. D. Federal land grants designed to settle immigrants as a buffer against native resistance. The correct answer is A. Immigrant pursuit of political and economic opportunity in the American interior. Germans migrated westward to purchase farms and escape repression, integrating into frontier communities. The revolutions of 1848 increased, not reduced, emigration. Question 3. Stimulus. Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a Woman? 1851. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me, and ain't I a woman? Question. Truth's speech most directly reflects which distinctive feature of antebellum reform activism? A. The persistence of white reformers in defining women's virtue through domestic and moral influence. B. The emergence of black feminist thought linking racial and gender inequality through lived experience rather than abstract moral argument. C. The expansion of evangelical revivalism that redirected reform energies toward temperance and Sabbath observance. D. The adoption of political party structures by reformers to advance suffrage and abolition jointly. The correct answer is B. The emergence of black feminist thought linking racial and gender inequality through lived experience rather than abstract moral argument. Truth drew on her experience as both laborer and woman to reveal how race and gender oppression intertwined. She defied domestic and racial hierarchies through a lived, intersectional challenge to reform-era norms. Question 4. Stimulus. Report on Shaker Settlement, 1837. Men and women labor side by side in peace, each devoted to the community's welfare. Question. The passage illustrates A. State-sponsored reform of family life through legislation. B. A mill town's adoption of factory paternalism. C. The transformation of agrarian protest into political party organization. D. A utopian attempt to create gender and economic equality through communal labor. Correct answer is D, a utopian attempt to create gender and economic equality through communal labor. Shaker communities embodied religious communalism, emphasizing celibacy, equality, and shared work. Political and state-led reforms pursued very different aims. Question 5. Stimulus. Political cartoon, The Drunkard's Progress, 1846. Each step down a staircase leads from a glass with a friend to death. Question. The cartoon's message most directly supported. A. State-level campaigns to prohibit tavern ownership and impose liquor taxes. B. Efforts by middle-class reformers to link sobriety to economic productivity and social order. C. The temperance movement's warnings about the moral dangers of alcohol. D. Evangelical critiques of leisure culture as a distraction from moral and civic duty. The correct answer is C. The temperance movement's warnings about the moral dangers of alcohol. Moral reformers used powerful imagery to equate drinking with moral decay and social ruin. Other interpretations ignore its didactic religious tone. Question 6. Stimulus. Declaration of Sentiments, 1848. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. Question. The rhetoric of the Declaration of Sentiments most directly illustrates which intellectual and strategic development in the reform movements of the 1840s? A. The adaptation of enlightenment. Rationalism and natural rights theory to justify female education and limited suffrage. B. The deliberate appropriation of revolutionary Republican ideals to assert women's political equality and expose the inconsistency of American democracy. C. The influence of transcendentalist moral perfectionism that emphasized self-reliance over organized reform conventions. D. The emergence of evangelical reform networks that focused primarily on personal salvation rather than institutional change. The correct answer is B. The deliberate appropriation of revolutionary Republican ideals to assert women's political equality and expose the inconsistency of American democracy. By echoing Jefferson's declaration, Stanton and Mott used revolutionary ideals to demand women's political rights. Their document exposed democracy's gender limits and tied feminism to America's Republican principles. Question 7. Stimulus. Prison Reform Report, 1839. The penitentiary must reform, not merely confine. Question. This reflects a belief that A. Moral rehabilitation, not punishment, was the purpose of incarceration. B. Prison labor was essential to instill industrious habits among offenders. C. Uniform state regulations were needed to equalize treatment of convicts. D. Social vices stemmed primarily from hereditary moral weakness rather than environment. The correct answer is A. Moral rehabilitation, not punishment, was the purpose of incarceration. Reformers like Dix and others saw humane treatment as central to redemption. Uniform standards and economic determinism were later progressive ideas. Question 8. Stimulus. Newspaper report on the Oneida community, 1848. Marriage and property are abolished among the perfectionists. Question. The community's practices reflected A. Socialist critiques of industrial capitalism emphasizing class cooperation. B. A transcendentalist rejection of organized religion in favor of individual moral intuition. C. Feminist reform efforts to expand women's property rights within marriage. D. Utopian experimentation inspired by perfectionist religious ideals. The correct answer is D. Utopian experimentation, inspired by perfectionist religious ideals. Oneida's radical social structure aimed to perfect humanity through communal property and spiritual purity. It diverged from feminism and state reform politics. Question 9. Stimulus. Excerpt from Catherine Beecher's Treatise on Domestic Economy, 1841. Woman's power is found in her influence over the hearts of men. Question. Beecher's statement aligns most closely with A. Early feminist arguments linking women's virtue to participation in reform movements. B. The social philosophy of Republican motherhood promoting civic education for sons. C. The cult of domesticity and the moral authority of women within the home. D. Evangelical critiques of domestic life as a barrier to women's spiritual independence. The correct answer is C. The cult of domesticity and the moral authority of women within the home. Beecher promoted women's moral centrality, not political activism, as key to social stability. Feminist and utopian ideals challenged rather than reinforced her message. Question 10. Stimulus. Underground Railroad Broadside, 1840s. Conductors on this road receive no pay. Their compensation is the freedom of their fellow men. Question. The expansion of networks like the Underground Railroad most directly reflected which shift in antebellum reform strategy? A. The rise of colonizationist efforts emphasizing African resettlement as a moral compromise to slavery. B. The reorientation of abolitionist strategy toward gradual emancipation through compensated manumission. C. The integration of anti-slavery activism into emerging third parties seeking electoral legitimacy. D. The move from moral persuasion to coordinated extra-legal direct action that defied federal authority in defense of natural rights. Rule. The correct answer is D. The move from moral persuasion to coordinated extra-legal direct action that defied federal authority in defense of natural rights. By the 1840s, anti-slavery reformers moved from persuasion to direct action, aiding fugitives through civil disobedience. The Underground Railroad embodied this shift from moral appeal to active resistance against unjust laws. Thanks for watching APush for 5. Let us know in the comments which questions you liked the most. If today's practice helped you, tap like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future videos. And share this with a friend who's also aiming for that 5. If you want more hands-on learning or direct feedback, reach out directly. We'd love to help you take your prep to the next level. See you in the next video.